golden age of Islamic science. Again, these texts ultimately came from Byzantium, as did the scholars who taught and translated them for the Arabs. The Islamic world eventually repudiated the ancient Greek legacy, as religious authorities suppressed the rationalistic inquiry on which ancient Greek science and philosophy were based. Part 3, Byzantium and the Slavic world, explores the religious side of the Byzantine legacy. Over centuries of determined missionary work, the Byzantines turned the southern and eastern Slavs from uncivilized invaders into the great defenders of Orthodox Christianity. Converting first the Bulgarians, then the Serbs, and finally the Russians, Byzantine and Slavic monks worked together to create what a leading modern scholar has called the Byzantine Commonwealth. This pan-Slavic cultural entity transcended national boundaries, blending orthodox monastic traditions of mystical contemplation with energetic missionary zeal to utterly reshape the world north of Byzantium's borders. Although these stories must be told separately, the reader should bear in mind that they happened, for the most part, concurrently. It has seemed best to tell them in the order in which they begin. Their climaxes fall in a different order. Part 1 begins with the sunset of Greco-Roman antiquity and moves forward to the humanistic rediscovery of that world in the 14th and 15th centuries. Part 2 focuses on the rise of Arab Islamic civilization in Byzantium's shadow from the 7th to 9th centuries. Part 3 has successive narrative peaks from the 9th to 15th centuries as the Slavic world coalesced to take its place as Byzantium's truest heir. Prologue. In a secluded corner of Istanbul, tucked under the old city's massive land walls, near where they begin sweeping down to the Golden Horn, a small Orthodox church sits in a quiet square. Guidebooks call it Kariyi Kamiyai, which is the Turkish version of its older Byzantine Greek name, the Church of the Holy Savior in Kora. Roughly equivalent to the American slang expression, in the sticks, the tag, in Kora, reflects the church's remoteness from the busy urban heart of the old city. Vibrant, dirty, chaotic, thrilling, the modern city has spread far beyond the ancient land walls, but the Church of the Kora remains far removed from the herd paths that shunt the bulk of tourists to bigger, better-known sites, as Hagia Sophia, the Blue Mosque, or Topkapi Palace. The Kora's plain exterior has nothing about it to attract the eye, from the charming and recently restored Ottoman-era houses fronting the square, one of which has been converted into a pleasant cafe and another into a hotel. Yet those lucky enough to have included it in their tours do not soon forget the graceful, delicate mosques and bold, dynamic frescoes that cover its interior walls and ceilings. Painstakingly restored during the 1960s, they depict scenes and stories from the Old and New Testaments. Their quality and emotional impact offer eloquent testimony to the achievement of the vanished civilization that flowered in the city before the coming of the Turks. The church itself and its associated monastery were probably founded as long ago as the 6th or 7th century, but after a number of restorations, both had fallen into disrepair by the early 14th century. The monastery is long gone. As the church survives, it is almost entirely the creation of one man, a wealthy Byzantine Greek named Theodore Metachites, who paid for and oversaw the complete renovation of both church and monastery between the years 1316 and 1321. It was during those years that the Kora's mosaics were assembled and its frescoes rapidly painted onto the still wet plaster. The Church of the Kora is the finest, most concentrated, and best preserved example of Byzantine art surviving today. The Kora also reflects a startling new phase in the long history of Byzantine artistic expression. 1,000 miles to the west, the Italian painter Giotto da Bondone, Metachites' nearly exact contemporary, had just completed his own cycle of frescoes at the Arena Chapel in Padua. That work, Giotto's masterpiece, is now recognized as having inaugurated the artistic revolution of the Italian Renaissance. Taking the clear family resemblance between the two fresco cycles as a cue